Welcome to the Bridge the Gap podcast. Here's your host, Dustin Udke.
Welcome in, everyone, to another episode of Bridge the Gap, a Fantasy Innovators episode. I'm really excited about this one because we are going to be looking at one of my new favorite apps. It's something I do every morning. So those who know me, maybe you don't know, I have a morning routine. I do the Wordle. I do all the other New York Times games, the Connections, the Strands. I do the Daily Dozen. I do Waffle. I do Frames. And now part of that is Griddy. And we have the founder of Griddy, Brian Birt, on the show. Brian, welcome in. Founder of Griddy. It's a football puzzle game app that allows you to draft players, and we'll show you guys a demo later. Brian, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, Dustin. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, I appreciate you coming on. Like I said, it's one of my favorite apps. It's fun. I enjoy puzzles. You know, I get a new jigsaw puzzle every year for Christmas, do the day or two after Christmas. I do daily puzzles like I've been saying. And this one is just a fun thing because there's that level of strategy that I like, and there's that level of randomness and somewhat luck of who you get in each round and kind of pairing them up and the iterations you can create through this to try to get the best score, which I really love. Before we get into it, if you guys are watching, you can download Griddy. I put the link in the description to their website. You can get it for Apple or Android. If you have questions, drop them in the chat. We'd love to interact with you guys. If you have questions about the app, the strategy of it, we can talk through that. Drop your questions. We love you guys tuning in. Thanks for tuning in. And hit that like and subscribe. So before we get into the app, Brian, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about your history, where you came from, and how did you get started in making fantasy apps?
Yeah. It goes back as long as I can remember. Just the obsession with football and sports and games as a whole. You know, I was the kid in elementary school that was like commissioning public leagues on Yahoo and, you know, selling sports cards on eBay. And, you know, it really just always followed me throughout my life. The love of sports. You know, I'm a diehard Bills fan, so keeping my fingers crossed for the playoffs this year. Yes,
Nervous.
but yeah, me too. All I can do is just, you know, hope and pray at this point. But, you know, I really love football. I love everything about fantasy, the community it brings with it. And, you know, frankly, like a lot of the closest relationships that I have in my life, you know, friends and family are really built on top of a shared love of games and sports. And so I really owe a lot to it. And, you know, it's really kind of always followed me, as I said. I would have loved to make a career out of it, out of college. But, you know, I took the quantitative brain that made me so attracted to fantasy football and applied it to the world of accounting instead. So, you know, very, very exciting stuff. I did a couple of years as an accountant, but, you know, the love of sports and just the urge to kind of, you know, dedicate my life to the industry was always pulling at me. And so, you know, after a couple of years in the world of accounting, I was actually able to land like an absolute dream job working at Sleeper.
Okay.
Yeah.
We all know Sleeper. No one loves Sleeper as our fantasy platform of choice for most people.
I'm glad to hear it. Yeah. So I was really just through some good conversations able to land a job with Sleeper. This was back in 2021 where, you know, at that point there was really a sizable user base, but the company itself was still, you know, pretty small and growing quickly. So, you know, I was just so fortunate to get in and kind of learn from all of the amazing people there who, you know, were just so generous with their time and really kind of taught me the ropes, everything they know about, you know, the industry and kind of behind the scenes and what goes into building those apps and games. And so I spent, you know, 3 years at Sleeper building and working on all sorts of products across, you know, fantasy and DFS and, you know, a lot of the community and social stuff. And it really just kind of gave me a holistic picture of what's going on in the space and really how products go from an idea to something tangible that users get to enjoy.
Yeah, that's that process, I think, for a lot of people is not understood in terms of what it takes, but also how long it takes to get from
Yes.
an idea and that, you know, and if you're a coder, which I'm not, and especially with AI, it was like, oh, you can code an app real quick. It's like, you can, but not a good app. Like, you can make a bad app real quick, but you can't make something that's has a good user interface and user experience and has that quality, which, right, for Sleeper, that's what Sleeper is known for, is their user interface and their clean look and their user friendliness nature. That's hard to do, and that takes years. It's not like something you can just do overnight, even with the best of team. So what sparked this idea for Griddy itself? Like, where did that come from?
Yeah, it's kind of a mixed bag. I mean, I've just always, as I said, kind of loved these different types of games. Going back again to elementary school, I mean, I think I played every single Madden and
Yep.
FIFA and NHL and 2K for, a decade or two straight. And, I always found that my favorite part of those games was building the teams, assembling the rosters, moving guys around. And I just always got a lot of inspiration from the various game modes that I played and enjoyed. And, at the same time, I was just sitting around with my friends every night, and we're all in a dynasty league together that, we're
Nice.
beyond obsessed with. And, I just found us on Tuesday nights, Wednesday nights, Saturday nights, just sitting there staring at our rosters and, talking about our teams and trades. And it really just sparked something in my mind that was like, hey, there really needs to be something to do
Hmm.
outside of game days. We love watching Red Zone, we love watching the primetime games, betting, following your fantasy teams. But look, like, if there's not an NFL game on, there's not much to do. And, there's not really something that is in the routine of NFL fans that they could look forward to. And so that was really like the impetus for me starting to think about, like, hey, how can we create a game that takes, my love of drafting and team building and packages it in a way that, fans get to enjoy it every single day rather than having to wait around for the next football game.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that because I didn't think of it until you said it, but this does remind me of when you're sitting around with your buddies and you go, I have a buddy Tristan, and he is the encyclopedia of where people played in college. So you can name some random
Yep.
fantasy player from bygone age, and he just can rattle off what college they went to. But
Yeah.
also those things of like, did so and so play with so and so? Yeah, they played together. It's like 6 degrees of Kevin
Hmm.
Bacon, but football, which I think is what Gritty has kind of done on some level. Let's talk about the name. Is it from the Justin
Yes.
Jefferson Gritty dance? Is that what it's from?
Yeah, it's actually a bit of a triple entendre. Okay, so
Okay.
it works out pretty well. Um, it was inspired first, of course, by the touchdown celebration. So the dance already had the close tie to the NFL.
Yep.
It works on the second level because of course, the field is the gridiron,
Mm-hmm.
so it's another association. And then the cherry on top is now we can call the board that you add your players to and move them around. We call that the grid.
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, we've seen a lot of those games. Immaculate Grid popped up for a while, and that was a big craze for a month
Yep.
or so. And I think that's kind of fun. Is it's what I like about Grid is it's not just pick a bear. It's bear. It's so when you get into the game, it's you draft a player, but you get them based on their conference and year they were drafted in team, and you get some scores based on that, which we'll get into. What makes Gritty different than other puzzle games from like Connections or
Yeah.
even things like a Weddle, which is like the football Wordle,
Yep.
or Immaculate Grid? In your mind makes it different?
Yeah, I think like at the highest level, it's the accessibility,
Hmm.
and that and I think that comes to fruition in a couple of different ways. There's a lot of these different types of daily games, and a lot of them for football, but what most of these games boil down to is NFL knowledge, and it's just trivia packaged in different formats.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I really love about Gritty is that, although it appeals to the diehard football fans, there's actually quite a lot of people who play it every day that don't really know much about football or maybe don't even watch the NFL. And so, although it is based on, of course, the players and the teams and the divisions, you don't really need any of that background knowledge to play it and enjoy it. And that's one of the things I really like. Um, beyond that, I think there's just some beauty in kind of the speed and ease of playing. You can
Yeah.
start a draft in an instant and finish it, in a couple of minutes with your cup of coffee or whatever it may be. And I really like that aspect of it as well. And of course, unlike a lot of the daily fantasy or sports betting stuff, it's open to anybody in any state, of any age, of any socioeconomic background. And so I think, the mix of those factors at the highest level makes it so that really anybody can enjoy the game.
Yeah, I think that's what I really like about it. And when we talk about like why do people connect with Gritty and what makes it popular, I think there is that low barrier to entry, right? You don't need to have all this
Yep.
insider knowledge. Everything's on the app for you. I do like the speed at which you can do it, and you don't have to do. You can start a draft and then leave it and come back an hour later. I've done that, so it's part of my morning routine. But sometimes I get a call in the morning. There's a leak
When
or
it's
whatever at my job.
or when it's going poorly, I'll just swipe out and say, I'll
Just
deal with this
slide out. I'll
later.
come back later. Yeah, and you can
Yes.
just kind of come back to it. Currently, you get 3 drafts a day, which I wish there was more. And we've talked about that, but we'll see.
Yeah.
And I like that there's no stakes. It is just a fun game, but it's not this like brain racking trivia of like name all. I've played those trivia. There was like name all the people that have caught a touchdown from Tom Brady. It's like, all right, I can get the top like 10, and it's like I can't get the next like 18. Because
Yeah.
it's like these one offs. It's very much user friendly, but there is this ease of pace, and it is one of those things. Much I think that like Wordle and some of these other games that have caught on connections, the mini crossword, the New York Times is, but the popularity of those is this group of people, and you can go, hey, here's my score. Like I got Wordle in 2
Yep.
today, right? And it's like, oh, cool.
Yep.
I could say, hey, I got a 90% or 100% on Wordle, or I got even an 80%, or I scored 150 or whatever. That's like if I get like over 130, I'm super happy. And I try to like text
Yeah.
my friends, but none else plays, and they're like, okay, cool. And I'm like, but I got a 150 yesterday, and I was super happy I scored 150 because that's really good for me. And I was like, I scored
Yeah.
150. That's awesome. And I think there's that part of like friendly competition. It does come across very much like a bar game that you would sit around and play with your friends, and do individually, but then compare notes and like I did better than you in these drafts. Even though each draft is its own individual thing, you're not playing. Unlike Wordle, like me and you would do the same word today. We each have different drafts, but there's still that competition in there. How's the launch going, you guys? When did you guys launch, and how's it been going for you since you launched?
Yeah. It's been awesome. We launched late October, and
Okay.
it was me just texting friends and family one by one, getting them to download it. We really started to pick up a lot of momentum in early November, largely through Reddit. And ever since then, it's really just taken on a life of its own. We added the draft ticker to the leaderboard, so you can just kind of watch it go up and up as more people discover the app, and more people draft every day. But we're closing in on 500,000 drafts completed, and
Nice.
just about 2 months, which is still unbelievable to me. And well over 10,000 people actively playing. And even beyond that, it's just kind of cool seeing the community form around it. We've started to really, get that sense of community going, whether it's the Discord, the subreddit, posting on social medias, just talking about strategy, showing off your drafts. Like it really is just so special and meaningful to me to see, this idea not only turn into a reality, but turn into, a part of people's days that they look forward to.
Yeah, and I think what I like about it is there is no like pay to play or pay to win structure, right? There is no money in it. It's not like I can pay to get redraws or any of that kind of stuff or pay to have more drafts. I think it is very much like everyone's on equal footing. There is no upside. Like I think when you look at the leaderboard from week to week, it's always similar people. Like if you look at the person that was top last week, he's probably somewhere this week, but there's going to be weeks where they drop off. So I think that's really good. Well, let's get into a demo of
Yeah.
this, and I will share my screen. I did not do my drafts this morning. It's been killing me all day. Do not do my drafts, which has really annoyed me because it's again I see it in the app and I'm like, oh, I want to do this. So this
Yeah.
is your main screen. This is me. Like I said, weekly I had a 150. My highest is ever 159. This is what you see. So what we're gonna do here, guys, if you're watching, I'm gonna do a draft the way I normally draft. Then I'm gonna do my second one, let Brian dictate how we draft. And then I think we'll talk strategy and kind of do the last one together. So if you guys are watching, if you have questions about this, drop it in the chat. We'd love to interact with you guys. So I'm going to start my new draft, which is super simple. Just hit the start new draft button. So what happens is you get 3 players. random players and random levels. Now, you will generally get, there's multiple levels of cards, which I'll show you down here. There's hero, platinum, gold, silver, and bronze. You will see more platinum and gold at the start of your draft, and then it kind of decreases as you go. And what you're trying to do is put guys in these spots between the quarterback, wide receiver, running back, flex, tight end, and you get talent based on the level of card, and then you get chemistry based on if they match division or team in draft year. So the perfect thing would be someone who is drafted the same year on the same team. So Caleb Williams and Roma Dunze in that quarterback wide receiver spot would be the ideal match. Obviously, you're not going to be able to match a quarterback, wide receiver, flex, running back, tight end on one side of your board, all drafted the same team, same year, because it just doesn't happen. So looking at this, what I like to do for my draft is I like to stick to a conference because I find it best to match those divisions across the board. When I first started, I was trying to do half AFC, half NFC, and just kind of leave the tight end in no man's land in that top wide receiver running back spot. But I feel like if I just stick to conferences, I generally score better. I have found that guys drafted in 2021 to 23 are the prime years that you're going to see a lot of. There's just more of them in the league. They've lasted longer. Don't really love Travis Kelce at 2013. Cooper Kupp at 2017 is a little bit low. I will take Malik Neighbors at 2024. Now, it doesn't matter where I put him. Either wide receiver spot, in my opinion. Brian, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't put him in my flex because you will get players that are only available. So if you only have your tight end spot left, they will give you tight ends. You hit next round. And so here I've got Jalen Hurts, Isaiah Pacheco, Michael Pittman. Now, since I'm sticking with the NFC, this is the risk because now I only have one player to choose from, and that is Jalen Hurts because he's the only NFC player. I will slide him into the spot underneath Malik Neighbors. You can see it goes red underneath their name, which I believe is their year, their draft year, correct, Brian?
You're talking about the dot under it?
Yes.
So if you go back to the rules, actually,
okay,
you'll see if you scroll all the way down. So those dots actually represent additional boosts to the draft grade. So if you slide up a tiny bit, you can see that
okay,
you want to get more connections to a player to try and get their dot from red to yellow and then from yellow to green.
for green. Okay, makes sense. So you can't see on my thing, there is a yellow line between Hertz and Malik Neighbors. It just doesn't show well just because of the size of the cards, because they're in the same division. So I'm getting one chemistry from them being in the same division, 22 for talent, because each of them is worth 11 in talent, total of 23. Next round. This is great because I got Dallas Goedert. I got also Aaron Jones, so another NFC player. But obviously, I want that team boost because that is going to be one of the better boosts you can get. You can see the line between them is green. Now Jalen Hurts pretty yellow. Good start so far. I'm at 45 total. I am kind of happy. Tight end is the weird one because it touches both quarterbacks, and it's kind of like for me in that weird no man's land there. So good start so far. I'm happy with 2 Eagles. This is where it kind of stinks because now I'm getting bronze and silver players. Obviously, I'm still sticking with the NFC, so I have my real only option is Rashid Shaheed. So what I'll do is I'll slide him over in my wide receiver. There's no connection there. He's not the same year as Goddard, not the same division. Conference doesn't matter. So I'm kind of hoping I can get something later on and move things around. This is where the strategy falls apart when I get 3 AFC guys and I'm doing an NFC draft. When I get this is where I start looking at draft years. So I got 2 guys in 21 and 1 guy in 19, which doesn't match any of my guys. What I will do here is pick what I think of the prime years, which for me is 2021. I'll take a running back over tight end because I have 4 spots currently that I can put a running back between my 2 running back spots, my 2 flex, whereas the tight end I can only put in the 2 flex. So I'll slide Najee Harris here. Once you take a guy out of the draft pool at the bottom, you can't take them back. So once they're here and move up, you can't take them back, but you can move them around. So I can move Najee here. I can move them around once they're drafted, but once they're moved up, they are locked in for that round. So next round, all AFC guys again, all bronze, which is the lowest tier, the lowest talent value. 2020, 21, and 20. So I have a 2021 Najee Harris. So what I'll probably do is slide a 2021 D Eskridge there just to get the year bonus. At this point, that side of the bracket is messed up for conference and team. We'll suffer with it. this is where it's interesting because I normally don't see a lot of gold or platinums in the later rounds. So getting a CeeDee Lamb in 2020 is great. The question I have now is he matches up well with Hurts and Malik Neighbors. So what I can do here is I can move these guys over here, and I can slide him in here and get that conference connection. So now Jalen Hurts is a green dot and green line. So I think that's the best thing. So you can move these guys around, and you can see your score live. So me moving Najee from here down to here takes me from 90 total to 89 total. So it's only 1 point. So I get 1 point for him matching the year with the Eskridge. So that's something you can play around with. Second to last round, I got a 49 or 24 Gurendo, which I think is probably the best thing I can do. I don't know if it matters too much to match him with who, because here's now the question. Do I try to match Jalen Warren with Najee Harris, or do I try to match Gurendo with Malik Neighbors at that running back spot? I think I'm going to stick with the conference because to match him and I'd have to move. I actually can't do that. I can't get Gurendo in that spot and match him next to Najee Harris because I don't have the flexibility. So I'm going to go like that. Which is about the same. And then my last one is quarterback, which I think is one of my better things to leave to the end. This is where I want to try to get Cooper Rush now with CeeDee Lamb. I can't do that, which is going to be the tough part, I think, for me. And I can try to move this around. So I'll slide Cooper Rush in. I'm currently sitting at 109, which for me is not a great draft. If I move that over here, I'm still at 109, so it doesn't make a difference. So that is my draft. So that's how you draft in Griddy. If you guys have questions, Brian, what'd you think of that draft?
Hey, some good pulls. Some good pulls. A late round CeeDee Lamb Platinum.
Yeah,
that's a draft saver right there.
And so what it gives you after your draft, it gives you your talent, your chemistry, your total score, your percentile of how you did based on the cards. Are we calling them cards? Is that what we're calling them? Players? I don't know what
Calling them
call
cards. Yeah.
Cards. The cards you got, how well you did. The hard part of that is you can't go back, right? So if you select the wrong guy off the bat, you're kind of stuck. So I basically was the 38.2 percentile. I lost 4 glow, which your glow is Griddy Glow measures your draft skills on Griddy. Your glow will upgrade after every draft based on your draft grade relative to peers. So what I have a question for you is that, so does that mean that someone else is getting this same draft somewhere else down the road?
It is not. It's just
Okay.
based on the comparison to, all drafts of all cards.
Gotcha. So I lost 4 glow, which isn't bad. If you get like a really good one, you'll get 20 some. I think my 150, I think I got 24 glow. So you'll fluctuate. If you do really well, you can get 109's not a bad score. I like to be above 120, I think, for me is using my benchmark. So Brian, I'm going to let you draft this next one.
All right.
So just start a new draft. So you got Dallas Goedert, DJ Moore, and a Platinum Brock Bowers.
It's not the most generous first round for a live stream, but
no, 2 tight ends is tough.
2 tight ends, 2 golds. I don't like 2018, so I'm going to stay away from that. I'm actually okay with Brock Bowers,
Okay.
largely because not only is 2024, an okay draft year, but I'm thinking down the line, hey, if I keep the quarterback spots open for, the later rounds, that sounds like a round where I'm going to get a bronze Aiden O'Connell. And so we're gonna keep our fingers crossed to eventually see Aiden O'Connell and hopefully get some other AFC West along the way.
Yeah, so this is where a little bit of NFL trivia knowledge does come in handy, knowing which years have more drafted skill position players. So if you think back to like 2018 or 2020 when there was like 4 quarterbacks drafted, that's not a great draft class for the overall position. So that's where the little bit of knowledge comes in. But again, how many 2018 quarterbacks are still in the league versus how many 2024 quarterbacks are still in the league? So I agree with you on that. Next one, you got CeeDee Lamb, Tajay Spears, and Brian Thomas Jr.
All right. Well, the only card that'll give me any chemistry is Brian Thomas Jr. So I think we're gonna have to go with him.
Yep. And so a lot of people would think you take the platinum because it's a platinum, but I don't mind a platinum or a gold. If it's one tier difference, I would never take a bronze or like a silver over a platinum or a gold over a hero, just because if it's more than 2 steps, that's not where I like to do, just for the chemistry, because the chemistry won't add up to that, right? So if you're going down from from 15 to 11, but getting the chemistry will help you long term, I think. If you're going any further down, I think it's not worth it. So we took Brian Thomas Jr. in our wide receiver spot, so we got that chemistry there with Brock Bowers for the draft year. Next one, we got DeAndre Swift, Stephon Diggs, and Jerry Jeudy. So 2 people in 2020 and a 2015 Stephon Diggs. So not a great pool.
Not great, but we can get Stephon Diggs on the board for the AFC South connection and that left flex.
This left flex. Okay, so you like the connection there, and I think that's fine. I think, again, you're going AFC. You got the South connection, which on the cards, it gives you the player, the division, and the draft year. So I don't
Yes,
mind that.
I'm not thrilled about 2015 though. Diggs is getting up there in age, and so I don't think there's many guys left from his draft year.
No, there's not. So we pulled George Kittle, DJ Moore again, and then Sam Darnold. So this is where, again, I was doing AFC, and now you're getting. I was doing NFC and got AFC. You got all NFC players.
Oh boy,
no one who really matches.
not at all. In fact, well, all chemistry equal. I don't want to burn a quarterback spot. I don't want a second tight end. Unless, I'll take a second tight end if there's a great chemistry boost, but George Kittle does nothing for me here.
In the flex spots, I agree.
Yeah, so I'll go DJ Moore in the top right, but I'm not going to be happy about it.
Yeah, I agree. I would not be happy with that, but it is what it is.
Although, if you start to, again, think ahead a little bit, if we are able to get Caleb Williams, that will at least connect DJ Moore and Brock Bowers. And so, all hope is not lost yet.
And so this is that 6-degree separation. It's like DJ Moore connects to Caleb Williams by team. Caleb Williams connects to Brock Bowers by year. So it kind of goes connection. So we got Xavier Worthy, Adam Thielen, DeAndre Hopkins, 2 2014 guys, which is interesting, and then a 2024 Xavier Worthy.
Yes. We've got a couple of interesting options here. I think that I'm actually going to go for the lower tier once again. And Dustin, I'm going to put you to work a little bit, moving this board around.
No problem. We're going to move some things around.
Yes. So we can first draft Xavier Worthy in the right flex, and then let's swap him and Brian Thomas.
Interesting.
Yes, and then we're going to swap DJ Moore and Stephon Diggs.
Okay, so we're building the chemistry. So basically, we're taking the 2024 with Xavier Worthy, but keeping the AFC South with the guys up at the top there. That makes sense. So that puts you at a total of 55.
And we might, depending on how things go, we might end up moving Brian Thomas back to match with Worthy, but we'll see.
Yep. And so we got Cam Akers, Ronnie Rivers, and Tua there.
Yes, Tua's a no-go. We don't have any division or year match. I think same for Ronnie Rivers, and so I think that really leaves me with one choice to get Cam Akers, and we're going to put him up top so that he matches with DJ Moore.
Okay. And so we pulled Ty Chandler, Michael Carter, and Ty Johnson. So 22, a 21, and a 19.
Okay. So this is where, well, Ty Chandler and Cam Akers would be great, but we unfortunately drafted 4 wide receivers to start,
so we can't fit them. We can't get them next to each other. Yes.
Yes, which is very unfortunate. All right, so what are we going to do here? I think we're still going to draft Ty Chandler.
And I don't hate that, going with the AFC theme. And so you, like me, try to keep our quarterbacks open. So Aiden O'Connell, Tua, and Bryce Young. So 2 2023s and then a 2020 Tua.
Okay. I mean, we set out to get Aiden O'Connell at the start, so we got to take him. I mean, we'll take that Raiders match. He'll match with Worthy as well, so we'll put him in the left slot.
Yep, so that makes Brock Bowers a little more valuable there. So you're at a total of 79. And then got Tua again,
Uh-oh.
Purdy, and Drew Lock.
Uh-oh.
This is our
I
third
think
Tua
I think
pool.
yeah, I think this is looking a little bit bleak. I wish we could put on a better showing, but
And this is what's fun about it, because I think there's that randomness as the best laid plans, right? If you start out your draft really good, and all of a sudden 2-3 rounds and you're kind of sunk.
yeah, and when you ask like why, what's different or why do people like it, I think that really hitting on that balance of skill and luck is just such an important quality. And really all of our favorite games in society, whether it's card games, board games, a lot of video games, or even fantasy football itself, there's a lot of strategic decision making, but at the end of the day, you're somewhat at the fate of the cards. And
Yep.
every time that you open the app, you have a chance at making an unbelievable run, and that's a pretty exciting part of it. And it's a sad segue into what's going to be a below 100 draft. So I don't
Unfortunately.
I mean, yeah. So I think we're going to have to go just Brock Purdy for the talent, I guess.
Yeah, that's what I would think. Just get the talent there. Just because you're going to get more talent out of that. I didn't hate Tua earlier, just because you had Ty Johnson kind of match the AFC East, but I think at that point you're going to get the talent back. So you're going to total score of 87 minus 16 glow and 8%. So again, had we started out with an NFC draft, we probably would have done a whole lot better. So we're going to do my last draft of the day, and we're going to do it together. So let's start that right now. And again, if you're watching, download the app. But if you have questions, whether they're strategy or questions about how the game's played, drop them in the chat. We'd love to answer those live for you guys. So let's start my last
after
draft of the day.
after that, I don't know if anybody wants my advice, but we'll see if we can rebound here.
So we got Devin Chain, Zay Flowers, and Josh Jacobs. Which way are you leaning here?
I love 2023. It has by far the most players of any year
Agreed.
and a lot of quarterbacks. And so if I get 2023 in the first round, I'm almost always going to take it.
Agreed. And I think we go with a Chain over Flowers for the platinum boost.
Yep.
And so it doesn't really matter where you put him for me. Either running back spot for me works. Second rounds, we got Kyler Murray, Brock Bowers, and George Kittle. I think we have to stick in the AFC at this point. I think Brock Bowers is the clear choice for me. What are your thoughts?
Yep. Same thinking.
And so this way, we are building now an AFC draft. We're kind of hoping we always see an AFC player in all of our rounds and hoping we get a lot of 2023, 24 players. So again, we're looking at Aiden O'Connell. If we're desperate at Tua, we're looking at maybe some Bills players, or some, other AFC West players in there. So we got Devontae Adams, Deebo Samuel, and Cooper Kupp. So 2014, 2019, 2017. Not great years, in my opinion.
Nope.
All gold, so the talent's going to be the same. So I'm inclined to stick with our AFC theme and go with Devontae Adams. Stick him in that top wide receiver spot, so at least we get the division bonus.
Yep. Let's do it. And again, 2014 is not going to do us any favors, but hopefully we can get some more AFC East guys.
Yeah, right. So like the perfect draft would be if we could get, a Garrett Wilson and a Breece Hall, right? And just pair that up and then get Aaron Rodgers and slide him in there and get that kind of quad there. So we got CJ Stroud, Tony Pollard, and Tajay Spears. So two 2023s and a 2019 Tony Pollard. Which way are you leaning here?
Tony Pollard is out of the question just because he doesn't help us at all. And so, it's really Stroud or Spears. I would probably sacrifice the tier and go down to silver and get Spears just to leave the quarterback slot open. But I think you could argue it either way.
Yeah, see, I'm more likely to go with, since they're the same year, that difference in bonus. You're looking to go from 8 to 5, which isn't a huge drop down. But I'm hoping that we can then keep the AFC. He matches with a chain, so we get that bonus, and hopefully we can get some Texans. I think you could go either way with this. I think that taking that one tier down doesn't seem horrible. But because we'd have to slide him over on the right-hand running back side. We really don't have our flex left. We're looking at Will Levis as the quarterback to match with there, or we get a Calvin Ridley, we get another Tony Pollard. There's just not a ton of talent, in my opinion, that'll match with him at running back, where we have a lot more room in the flex and wide receiver with Stroud. So I'm going to put Stroud in. My podcast, I get final say, I guess.
Yeah, hey, absolutely.
We'll see what happens. So we got Drake May, Jaden Daniels, and Travis Etienne. So 21, 24, and 24. What are you thinking here?
Well, I like that Drake May pull just because it connects Devontae Adams with Brock Bowers, which to your, point on the last draft, it's kind of those random connections that you would never think of. But, that would be the way I would go.
I agree with you on that. We're doing AFC, so that takes Jaden Daniels out for me. Again, Travis Etienne in 2021 gives us nothing other than opens up. We could put him with CJ Stroud in the South, but that one connection, I'd rather go with Drake May. I agree. Now, this is weird because I think we both are save our quarterback spots till last type people, but we'll see how this plays out for us. So we got Cedric Tillman, Jackson, and Javonte Sanders. So 24, 23, 24. What are you thinking here? So a silver and 2 bronze. So silver is higher than bronze. What are you thinking, Brian?
Well, once again, we've got a common link between our QB and tight end, which is nice. So if we wanted to go Jackson, we could do AFC South for Stroud and 2024 for Bowers. Yep. So that would probably be where I would lean.
I agree with you. That is where I lean as well. You get that, mutual connection between those two.
Yeah, although
Tillman, I don't think does a ton for me.
If somebody wanted to make the 2023 argument, I think that would be reasonable too. But I think this is kind of our opportunity to connect Stroud and Bowers. So we'll take it.
Yep, and so this is where hindsight, right, taking Tajay Spears would have been great because we'd had another Titan to pair with him.
Yeah. But
so I'm sure we're going to get dinged on our percentile for that, but oh well. So Juju Smith-Schuster, Nick Chubb, or Jacoby Myers, what do you like here?
Oh, boy. This is a
tough one. There's not great years, 2017, 18, and 19, which we are more in the 20, 24, 23 range. For me, lean Jacoby Myers. We pair him with Brock Bowers. We move Jackson over to the flex, up to the flex, I would assume.
Yeah, I think that is
probably. Or I'd actually move him over to the flex.
Yeah, I think
right,
so.
To match with Drake May. And then get Jacoby Myers in there. So we get that green line between him and Brock Bowers on the same team. We still keep that 24 connection with Jackson over there with Drake May, which makes Drake May a little more valuable. Gibson, Perry, and John Daniels. So getting a platinum in the 8th round is kind of insane. Happens every now and then. Which way are you leaning here?
So this is where I think conventional wisdom might, go against my thinking. As crazy it is to say, I wonder if the AFC East and Jets connection is more valuable than the change in tier. So what I would if I were playing, I would maybe do Gibson, flip him to the right side, and then move HN down to the bottom right because he's 2023 AFC East. And so I'll have a green line with both Adams and HN.
So you want to take Gibson. Let's just slide him here for now.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 111. You want to move this and then this?
Yes.
111 either way, so I think it works out.
Yeah, it looks like that didn't do much for us.
I wonder what this does. That drops us a point.
Yeah.
And then we're hoping that we get a 2023
AFC
running
South
back
would be great. Yeah, AFC South.
Yeah, or a Jets running back.
Let's see.
So let's see what we get. Another Tony Pa.
Hey.
So I think that's the best match. It does match with Jackson. That's where I think we're going to have to go there. 140 is a really good draft. So getting that talent, getting those boosts. Yeah, and so we could tinker with this and see like, does like this probably lowers us a point because you lose that connection. I don't think there's anything we could do to get any extra points here. So 140 is pretty good. Let's see what our final score is. So a 90 percentile, which I think is amazing.
Yeah,
It
it
got
is.
16 glows, so I think I'm a positive for the day, or at least close to even for the day between my 3 drafts. 78 chemistry to me is a great score in the chemistry score. That shows you have enough connections between teams and leagues, so that's kind of where it's at. I like this. I think that was a great draft. I think it was dicey there in 3, 4, and 5 those rounds, and then we kind
Yep.
of lucked out at the end there. And the fact that we got a whole AFC draft is, I think, a monumental win because that sometimes just
Yeah.
doesn't happen because you just don't know.
Oh,
And
very
I think
rarely,
sometimes
in
you're playing
fact.
with it. So that is how you play Griddy. Hope you guys enjoyed that live demo. Like I said, you can download it now. It is available on Android and Apple, or Android and Apple on the App Store. It's linked in the descriptions. Before we end, why don't we talk a little bit other tips, tricks, strategies that you might want to give people if they're playing Griddy?
Yeah, I mean, I think, across 3 drafts, we touched on, a lot of the thinking or strategy that goes into it.
Yep.
Saving QBs for the end is what I've found to be consistently kind of the best way to get those big scores.
Yeah.
We talked a lot about draft classes, and as I mentioned at the start of that 3rd draft, 2023 is great, 2022 is great.
Yep.
And I think just throughout the draft, continuously rearranging the board is something that a lot of people don't do enough,
Yeah.
if ever. And so, for me, I find even myself, after I've looked at it for a while, just even doing what we did at the end, swapping guys around, will sometimes
Consistency.
unlock something that you miss.
Yeah, I mean, just seeing those weird, connections. I agree with you. Just swap around doesn't hurt. You can always swap them back. You never know what might just click. Divisions or years and different combinations, especially with that tight end position. I find because that links to a wide receiver, running back, and then the 2 quarterbacks. So maybe that something just swapping around those flex positions. I like to keep my flex positions for, I guess, 4th to last. So I like to do my wide receivers, running backs, tight ends, then the flexes, then my quarterbacks. I agree with that. It's great. You said you guys have a Discord. How can they find that Discord?
Yes. So if you download the app, there are links within the settings page to the Discord, the subreddit, as well as our Instagram, X, and TikTok pages, which a little bit more of a work in progress on the TikTok side, but the other
We'll
channels
get there.
the other channels are alive and well. If you start drafting, if you play Griddy, the subreddit and the Discord in particular, just awesome place to share your drafts, talk strategy. It's where I send all the updates too, because we're constantly working on the app. We have all sorts of cool things coming up, all sorts of features and updates, and they'll all be announced across those channels. So it's really a great way to stay plugged into what's going on in the Griddy world.
Yeah, and I'll say from like a user standpoint, like there was a couple times where like, hey, this glitched out, and I reached out to customer support, and I got an answer back within like an hour, and it was like, hey, do this. I was like, okay, cool. I think you guys are really great, responsive. I think it's a great community builder of like, hey, look what I
Yeah,
did, and I think that Discord and the socials of sharing a screenshot of your draft, especially when you get like a 90% or 100%, like that's just a awesome score. You get like your new high score. I think sharing that with your friends really does create the community and kind of get some excitement around it. Let's talk a little bit about the future. Now I know you can't give away everything.
yeah.
How soon after the 2025 draft will the 2025 players be in Griddy?
I mean, hopefully, the goal is next day, of course, right? But
Okay.
this is, of course, our first transition
Draft.
into a new year. Being a game that's barely 2 months old. It's a lot of firsts for us, and this is going to be the first NFL draft. But we work with some great data providers, and I'm sure that you know we'll have them up there pretty quickly.
Yeah, I would assume it would take. Well, even with free agency as well, guys moving teams. That's going to be things are going to roll in. You guys are going to work as fast as you can. I'm sure you guys will. What else can you tell us is the future of Griddy? What's coming? What can we be excited about?
Yeah, I mean, I think a big thing for me is just new ways to compete beyond the 3 drafts a day. And we have a lot of really fun ideas for, different ways to compete more directly with friends. Daily challenges, tournament style brackets. I would love a format where you can go 1v1 with somebody and you get dealt
Oh,
the
okay.
same deck of cards.
Ooh.
And so if you're the type guy or gal who is, always pulling the luck card as an excuse, you're going to be out of excuses in that mode. And then, beyond that, I think there's some other strategic angles that we can add to the game. Super popular request has been rerolls. So, you don't like
Yep.
your 3 cards, shuffle in another 3. That's something we
Yes.
would like to add at some point, albeit in a very limited capacity so that you're not just shuffling every round of every
Yeah.
draft. But, giving you, let's say, one or a couple to use throughout your 3 drafts of the day adds a really interesting element of, I've kind of got this power up in my back pocket. When and where do I want to use it
Yeah.
to, try and hit that 90 or that 100 percentile?
Yeah, I could see a draft, maybe 2, right? And so if you're doing an AFC draft like we did and we get all NFC players, being able to reshuffle those.
Yep.
Do
Yep.
you see do you see Griddy for other sports? Is there Griddy basketball, Griddy baseball? That something you guys want to do?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think that's the cool thing about, the format and mechanics of the game is it will transition to other sports. So at some point, we'd absolutely love to build Gritty for, all the different leagues out there. But we still have so much to build for football,
Yeah.
and football is, it's America's pastime now, and it's my heart lies in the NFL. So we're gonna spend the foreseeable future building out an awesome experience. I mentioned the game modes, I mentioned, the rerolls, and I think there's also a lot of scaffolding we can build around it, achievements, badges, in-depth statistics, just, really a lot more ways to be rewarded for your awesome drafts. And, I would love to even do a collectibles component where you can kind of earn and collect player cards to show off on your profile. So it's just all sorts of different ideas, and a lot of it comes from the community. So if anybody's watching and you're pounding the screen saying, why haven't you thought about this, please message me. As Dustin called out, we're reading the support inbound, we're reading all of the DMs, all of the posts, and we're building it for the community. Like you know I'm a power user myself. My friends, my family, like, they love the NFL, they love fantasy, and they love Gritty. And that just really adds a lot of meaning to the work. And we're building it for the people who are playing every day. And so let us know how we can make things better.
I mean, I think it's a great app. Like, if it was unlimited drafts, it'd be like Candy Crush for me. I'd be playing all the time. I do like that
Yep.
it's limited, otherwise, so I'm not on there all day, every day. Because there's sometimes at night I'm watching TV and I'm just like playing Candy Crush. And it's like, what are you doing? I was like, oh, I'm playing Candy Crush. And I can just see them like, I'm playing
Yep.
Gritty if there was unlimited
Yep.
drafts. I think it's a great draft. I appreciate you coming on, talking through it, going through that demo, giving the audience kind of an in-depth look, kind of under the hood, behind the scenes of Gritty. Like I said, I love the app. It's been one of my favorite things since I found it. I just saw you post about it on LinkedIn,
Oh,
surprisingly, and then reached
yeah.
out and I was like, oh, here's a new app. Okay, let me try it. I'm always looking for fun things. I think
Yeah.
it's definitely an innovative way of keeping football kind of going, and kind of like you said, during the week, even during the off season, kind of keep your players in mind, and having that kind of just fun daily thing. I think that's why things like Wordle and these kind of games have caught on, because it's just a once a day you can sit down, do it at your own pace, and then kind of build a community around it of whether it's your friends, or the Discord or whoever it is, and kind of talk about that stuff. I think it really is an innovative way, and that's why I wanted you on Fantasy Innovators, because I do think it's an innovative way of, it's not trivia. It's a puzzle in some sense, but it's also like this strategic challenge on another sense, which I think is really interesting and different than what else is out there. So, one last time, you can download Griddy. The link is in the description. It's on Android and Apple. You can follow Griddy on X at Griddy_FF, or if you get the app, you can go to their Discord on there, hit them up on the socials. I know you guys got some more like content coming out that we've talked about a little bit before the show.
Yep.
Brian, thank you so much for coming on. Before we go, I have to ask, you're a Bills fan. What's your Super Bowl prediction for this year?
Oh, boy. Bills, Eagles, Bills coming out on top.
All right, I like that. I'm a Bills fan, but I'm from Philadelphia. I would love Bills Lions, so I can be happy either way because I would love the Lions to win one as well. I'm worried about our Bills. We have a tough road. It's probably going to be Denver. It's Denver, then probably Baltimore, then KC. So I think they might lose to Baltimore. Baltimore just runs the ball really well. I'm just hoping Baltimore can somehow choke away against the Steelers this week, and then we can get an easier draw. Let's hope. That's my hope, is that the Steelers can pull an upset.
I don't believe in the Steelers at all, but I believe in the Bills, and this is the year. The vibes are right. Josh Allen's playing out of his mind, and please.
I know. Please, just give us one. That's all we want.
Yeah.
I have plans. I've had plans for a couple years with my wife that if the Bills make it to a Super Bowl, I'm going to fly to Buffalo. I have family out there, watch a Super Bowl with them, and then hopefully stay for a parade. That's always been on the docket if the Bills are made to the Super Bowl.
Well, I'll see you for the parade if they do make it there.
We'll meet up for the parade and we'll do some Griddy drafts together. Brian, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you all for tuning in. Go ahead and go download Griddy. Like I said, it's the best app you'll get. You'll be part of your daily routine. It's something you can do, 3 drafts a day for now and just have fun, share those scores, see if you can beat our score today. What was our high one? 130? So see if you can beat that on today. Let us know your high score. Hey, if you've done Griddy today, drop it in the comments. Just screenshot your score. Let us know your score. I'd love to see how you guys are doing. Thank you so much, Brian, and we will see you all next time.
Thanks, Dustin.